A very good afternoon to all, and a great privilege to speak at the Institute of Social Sciences today, and I'm extremely grateful to Dr. George Matthew and Dr. Ashnarayan Roy, and of course Professor Srinivas. I'm meeting her for the first time although I've known her for almost 3 years now, and I did have many interactions with her online. In fact, she delivered the Constitution Day address of 2021 at our department, and the subject of services and government, in the chapter of services. And but my first meeting, I'm privileged to meet you and listen to you today. And this is the first annual lecture of the Center for Public Policy and Governance. And when I received the invitation a few months back, I said, what do you want me to speak on? And the subject that was chosen after prolonged discussions was towards transformative governance and new paradigms. So, in fact, I did, if you notice, there's a book of mine outside on the March to New India, Governance Transformed 2014 to 19. And I documented the phenomenal transformation of India's governance models in that last 5-year period. So today I'll speak to you about the governance model for the period 2019 to 24. And as Professor Runke said, I'll make an all-pervasive push for adoption of technology. I will try to answer the questions that she has flagged in terms of universalization of services and how citizen entitlements shall be reached only through a universal push, an all-pervasive push for adoption of technology. The India story in the Amritkal period as to how the government sees it, how young officers' vision sees it, how do you sustain innovation, imagining India through innovation at 100? How is that vision possible? I'll address that also today. And administration and governance issues, of course, I'll flag. I was not sure of the audience, so this lecture has been pitched for a senior level audience. So I'll try and rationalize it to young students so that you can follow up on the kind of work that is going on. So, the first question that I asked myself as I prepared for this lecture was, what is transformative governance model? And as I went through my own writings and hundreds of pages I rummaged, and I found a quote from my book. I had traveled about 8,000 kilometers in 2018 and went to every district of Rajasthan as Chairman Board of Revenue, overseeing the Prashasan Gaon Ki Aur campaign, and met more than 70,000 farmers, about 7,000 advocates, visited all district collectorates, and interacted with thousands and thousands of people. What struck me in every village that I visited was the proliferation of digital technology. And India's villages had changed, and villagers were technologically enabled. E-mitras, digital merchants, business correspondents, these were available in every village. The proliferation of Jan Dhan accounts, Aadhaar, had made a huge transformation and empowerment. One of the most popular schemes that was implemented by government, which had very high uptake, was the Ujjwala Yojana. Everybody wanted clean energy. And another was the Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana, that was Pakka housing. There was tremendous enthusiasm for adoption of technology, as also for electrification, and the tremendous impact of the direct benefits transfer scheme, because money was reaching the last mile directly. Digital technology provided the compelling mandate for change in India's governance models. In fact, India's governance, if you see, has gone up in size, scale, learning paradigms, and I will show you in the PowerPoint presentation how the size and scale of governance has enlarged. There is an optimistic way forward in transforming ourselves technologically. In fact, I was part of 2 major institutions with more than 50,000 employees. One was the All India Institute of Medical Sciences, and the second was the Board of Revenue of Rajasthan. And very large, unwieldy institutions with huge institutional legacy of more than 75 years. And to transform them into modern day digital institutions, when we took up the Digital AIMS project on the day Digital India was launched, 1st of July 2015, and transformed the institution into a fully digital public hospital. It was called the first digital transformation in healthcare. I went back to Rajasthan and we took up digital transformation of revenue courts of Rajasthan, 1,600 revenue courts to be transformed digitally so that simplifying a litigant's journey through revenue courts was the objective. It was called the first digital revolution in revenue courts. In fact, I noticed simplifying a citizen's journey in interactions with government became an all-pervading theme with me. I tried to bring citizens and government closer using technology. And today, I will present to you the models that I have witnessed in this long journey of 21 years in Government of India, 35 years I've completed as I'm entering my 36th year in government come January. So, how does India's model look when we present so many best practices to the world? A meritocracy to the highest level, a technologically extraordinarily strong nation, and tremendously focused on citizen centricity. There's also constitutional morality, wherein which there is a lot of strength that we derive from having a rule of law. There is very little discretion in terms of how laws are interpreted and laws are implemented. So Digital India today represents a huge force multiplier and a transformation into a digitally transformed and digitally empowered society is going to bring in tremendous changes into our knowledge economy. So let me take you through this presentation. Of course, the paper will be coming to you. And so this is a quote from our Civil Services Day message of the Honorable Prime Minister, but there's another quote also. The Digital India movement has brought data to the villages of India. Tele-density, internet coverage, mobile internet subscriptions, these have increased tremendously in the recent past. And there's been a massive growth of common service centers. And the highest mobile data consumption in the world, where data is available at very low prices. And we've established digital infrastructure, Aadhaar, UPI, eNAM, government e-marketplace, GEM, and in a position to leverage the fourth industrial revolution and make an immense contribution. In fact, the jump from an agrarian economy to a service-led economy is a huge change. So today I'd speak to you, in fact, the way I've structured it was for senior professors of public administration. So I tried to look at how has governance models changed, and the first thing is recognizing meritocracy. How does government recognize meritocracy? The second one is how do you benchmark governance? The third is how do you bring in secretariat reforms? Secretariats are very large bodies. The central secretariat has more than 500,000 employees. The state secretariats on an average have about 150,000 to 200,000 employees. So how do you reform these very large institutions? In fact, my mind goes back to what one of the AIMS professors had told me when we digitized AIMS, that you've saved the Titanic. In fact, I used to find patients waiting there at 1 a.m. in the morning for an OPD appointment. The digitization of AIMS has reduced wait times, has ensured that patient records are online, and today you have digital healthcare has become a huge reality in the last 8 years when you see with the Pradhan Mantri Ayushman Bharat Yojana, as also Aadhaar cards being given. So there's been a massive transformation in our healthcare. So secretariats are very large bodies at state level, at central government level, and the transformation of secretariats I will discuss. The presentation of the national governance models in international fora through the National Center for Good Governance. This is the first vertical of administrative reforms. The second one is on public grievances. How are citizens' voices heard? What is CP grants? What is the reform of it? How are grievance redressal points? If you file a grievance, how is it being addressed? And how is the quality monitored? And the third is e-governance. How do you adopt e-governance? How are e-services monitored? And how do you improve service delivery? These are the broad thrust areas of the annual day talk today. And if you have any doubt at any point, you're free to stop me. And as I said, administrative reforms is the transformation in size, scale, and learning paradigms. And the first one is the universalization of the Prime Minister's Awards for Excellence in Public Administration. These awards have been there from 2006 onwards till date, but from 2015 onwards, they've undergone a tremendous transformation, and they're awarded for civil servants for outstanding performance. And as you can see, this is one of the collectors of Baramulla district who's being awarded on Civil Services Day. 21st April every year is celebrated as Civil Services Day. And replication of these best practices is something that is pursued intensely in government. And as you can see, it's now mandatory for all collectors to participate in civil services, in the Prime Minister's Awards for Excellence in Public Administration. And 768 districts, which is almost 98% of the total districts of India, participate. 2,500 plus nominations come in, and 15 awards. So it's a highly competitive award that is there. And we've tried to restructure it, drive it to ensure that priority programs are better implemented based upon the kind of restructurings that are done. Here are some of the innovations that have received awards, and as you can see, there are a whole number of them which are technological innovations which have brought citizens and government closer. One Nation, One Ration Card is one of the game changer initiatives that was initiated, which enabled portability of ration cards. The same way with the National Generic Document Registration System. For many years, linking a mutation with a registration was one of the most difficult aspects. You sell a plot of land, go through the sub-registrar, then ensure that the title is actually transferred in the revenue records. That was another aspect of it. And it would take 90 to 120 days to actually get this process completed. Today it can be done in real time. Document is registered, at the same time the title is transferred to you. The success of the COVID-19 vaccination program as a digital program with Arogya Setu apps, COVID apps, each one of us who's undertaken and the vaccination and got a certificate has benefited from it. The Prime Minister's Gati Shakti National Master Plan, which provides multiple interfaces to actually improve project design. Then you have in education technology, which has been identified as one of the best practices of innovation in the state level. And in addition to it, there are also other innovations which are awarded. And you can see the Ministry of Civil Aviation has received the award for UDAN, which is developing local connectivity through air connectivity across numerous airports of at Tier 2 and Tier 3 cities. And you do have a whole lot of state innovations which have come in. Mission Youth of the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir is one of the big game-changing innovations that was brought in, which provides skill trainings, has also employment opportunities, bank linkages for the youth of Jammu and Kashmir. These are district level innovations that have been awarded, and even in the district level innovations also, I found collectors were adopting technology at a rapid rate. New Age Learning Centers of Changlang was one where a lot of technology adoption was there. Navapravartan Startup Zone at Chanpatia, particularly in the COVID time, thousands of labor had migrated to Bihar and they had to be given gainful employment. So this Navapravartan Startup Zone represented one of the most innovative changes that was adopted in terms of employing labor and also establishing a startup with bank linkages. Cross-sectoral linkages could be possible because of technology platforms. We also scaled up participation in Civil Services Day. In fact, this event is conducted annually at Vigyan Bhavan, and this year the participation was 26,000 participants. We've tried to ensure a people's movement for celebrating governance and also recognizing meritocracy. So we benchmark technology, we recognize technology practices, identify meritocracy in innovation, and try and disseminate it to the Civil Services Day events. Regional conferences are also held across every state of India, and this year alone, as you can see, so many conferences have been held: Srinagar, Bengaluru, Itanagar, Mumbai, Bhopal, Jaipur. Well, the Civil Services Day events at Delhi are very large events. These are about 500 officials are invited to each. Then there are also the National Good Governance webinars that are convened, and these are held once every month. And many of you would have seen the Abhinav Pahal, which is a weekly series on the award-winning initiatives on Sunset TV. And there's also an innovation portal that is available online for those of you who want to study how governance innovations are happening. Blogs are written by district collectors online. The second big area is benchmarking governance. How do you benchmark the quality of governance? And this was a huge challenge to actually design a governance index and to ensure adequate data sets are available both at state level, national level, and at district level. So it took almost 7-8 months to structure an index, multiple rounds of discussions at Committee of Secretaries level, also with the knowledge partners, consultations with states, ministries, and a 58 indicator based index covering 10 sectors: agriculture, commerce, human resource development, public health, public infrastructure, economic governance, social welfare, judiciary and public safety, environment, citizen-centric governance was structured. The first Good Governance Index was released on 25th of December 2019. The second was released on 25th of December 2021. So it's a biannual publication that comes in. The third is expected on 25th December 2023. Evidence-based decision-making is something that is taught in universities, and this is evidence-based decision-making at its best, where disaggregated data sets at district level across multiple parameters, about 65 indicators, are monitored. It required huge amount of strengthening of directorates of economics and statistics because data collation, data publication in a timely manner was essential. Secretariat reforms is the third big area that I'll cover, and the transformation of a secretariat, the first thing that hits you when you go to a public office is significant number of files, huge number of files are there. And today, the movement away from physical files to a digital environment system of e-office is what I wish to share with you. How do you make secretariats as citizen-friendly places, government offices as citizen-centric places, and improve the efficiency in decision-making? So there are special campaigns that are conducted for Swachhata as also for reducing pendency, improving the efficiency in decision-making by delayering, delegation, and adopting e-office analytics to ensure technology is adopted into secretariat procedures. The quantum of office scrap that the Central Secretariat and the field offices of Government of India was carrying is quite large. And when we disposed scrap as part of the special campaign from October 2nd to 31st in the last 3 years, government earned a revenue of 1156 crores. And it's a significant volume of earnings that we had. Condemned vehicles were disposed of. Laptops, desktops, photocopiers were disposed of, files were weeded out, and we covered more than 400,000 office spaces, and 345 lakh square feet of space was freed. So much of new office space could be created merely by freeing up condemned furniture as also files which had occupied huge amount of space. This was a campaign that was conducted across the length and breadth of India, all the way from Belgaum in the north to Mailadurai in the south, from Bardmer in the west to Tinsukia in the east, and covered across every state, every district. Wherever there was a Government of India office, a saturation approach was adopted to ensure that the office was covered as part of the Swachhata campaign. In fact, this was the campaign that was held from October 2nd to 31st, 2023. 75,000 post offices, 25,000 banks, 31,000 schools, 22,000 railway stations, 13,000 road transport offices, and huge number of offices were covered. And the Prime Minister had given the call for a Swachh Bharat from the ramparts of Red Fort. But cleaning up office spaces was a huge challenge because it required procedural amendments, it required compliance of procedures in terms of records management, monitoring on digital portals, and the revenue earned, as you can see, is quite significant. This is the space freed, and this is the kind of response we got. We found there was tremendous excitement in government-to-government offices. Everybody would like to have a clean space with an aesthetically pleasant environment, and we found more than 100,000 tweets were issued this year alone. In addition, the reach was quite significant, and the Honorable Prime Minister has mentioned it a number of times in his Mann Ki Baat that has been telecast on All India Radio. And several cabinet ministers, as also secretaries to Government of India, provided leadership. And a lot of new innovation started coming in. Digital innovation started coming into our campaign to minimize pendency. The intelligent grievance monitoring dashboard enabled us to monitor officer-wise pendency. The linking of iBot onto CPGrams enabled officers to undergo capacity building programs. The Vidyanjali app was one where you could recycle outdated laptops and desktops, and which could be refurbished for student use. And there was also the major campaign against single-use plastic. So you can see that one of the ITIs launched an elephant statue with 30,000 plastic bottles. A plastic dana was created in Ministry of Coal. Check dams of plastic waste were created. A major sustained campaign against use of single-use plastic was launched. There was also improving office spaces, and as you can see, this is the number of desktops that were condemned, and huge number of desktops lying all over the place. And on the right, you can see old vehicles that were disposed of. 4,700 vehicles were disposed of as part of this campaign. There were other aspects to the campaign. Public grievances were disposed, files had to be weeded out, and it was a huge campaign on a national level. The second was increasing efficiency in decision making. As you can see, the Central Secretariat covers the North Block, the South Block, several ministerial blocks, Krishi Bhavan, Udyog Bhavan, Vanijya Bhavan, with one across the New Delhi. It covers massive office spaces. And how do you improve decision making in the Central Secretariat? The Manual of Office Procedure, the Central Secretariat Manual of Office Procedure had to be updated to create a digital Central Secretariat by merging this Manual of Office Procedure with the Manual of Electronic Office Procedure. Officers were provided login IDs and passwords for e-office. Virtual private networks were created, and also digital signature certificates had to be given to officials so that the files would be signed. And this was the four-pronged approach: delayering, delegation, desk officer system, and an all-pervasive push for digitization. Every receipt that comes to you is digitized. No physical paper. Everything goes online. Central registration units are digitized, files are digitized, and outgoing letters are fully digitized. In fact, my own department, we would send 30 lakh letters in physical form, and those have come down to nothing. Today we send everything digitally. every citizen who filed a grievance, we would have an officer who would sign a letter and send it out. Today, we don't have anything, and every day we would be sending out 2,000 to 3,000 letters. So everything goes digitally, online, citizen registration with an email ID or a mobile number, and SMS goes to him. We also had to delayer departments and reduce the number of vertical chains in the hierarchy, and it was government decided that not more than 4 levels. 4 levels, decision-making maximum is 4 levels. The file will go through 4 levels. When Paul Appleby studied the Survey of Public Administration or the Secretariat of Bengal, what he came up with was 32 levels. A file passes through, a receipt passes through 32 levels. And even in post-independent India, the number of levels through which files were passing was quite significant, and they needed to be delayered. So the delayering of the Secretariat was one of the big tasks that was taken up. Delegation. Everything comes right up to the top. So the online delegation ensures that files don't move up. They're decided at the lower levels. And powers are delegated, administrative powers, financial powers are delegated on the system so that at the lower levels, decision making is possible. This is the front end of the e-office software. It's an anytime, anywhere system. You can operationalize files, access files from anywhere, and dispose files from anywhere. And the pandemic played a massive role in terms of how e-office was adopted in the Secretariat. The number of e-files grew from something like 400,000 in 2018 to 31 lakh e-files as of now. And that was the massive change that e-office underwent. In fact, one of the reasons why our department was awarded the Digital India Award for 2020 was the transformation of the Central Secretariat into a digital secretariat. At the same time, the special campaign ensured that the number of physical files we were carrying could be brought down. Let me take you to some of the more interesting ones. This is how do you monitor files and analytics. The number of how many levels files are moving, how are the analytics monitored, active files, closed files, how many files are being re-signed, where is the decision making stuck. The e-office provides a strong analytics dashboard. The second is the National Center for Good Governance. And this is a huge capacity building institution, as also a think tank for governance, organizes consultations, workshops, citizen-centric governance initiatives. In fact, we were doing a webinar once a week in the pandemic times. And India's governance models are hugely popular. We have scaled up, so many countries are coming to us for capacity building of international civil servants. And the webinars are being attended by more than 54 countries. So it's an apex policy institution. The revival and resurgence of the National Center for Good Governance has been a huge success story that I've witnessed in the past 5 years. This is a map where international civil servants are currently visiting NCGG from Gambia, Tanzania, Maldives, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, Myanmar, Cambodia. These are the civil servants who are visiting the NCGG. And this is a map of the countries that are participating in our webinars. And as you can see, across the length and breadth of the world, policy experts are willing to participate and exchange views. And that gives a strong sense of how India's governance models are moving in the right direction. And these are the big thrust areas. Digital public infrastructure as a global public good has been a single big thrust area. The second one is administrative reforms. Aadhaar is a big, many countries would like to understand the success story of Aadhaar. The Vision India at 2047, anti-corruption strategies, poverty alleviation initiatives, and also the Ayushman Bharat program as to how it is being implemented. We have linkages with several universities, and Professor Rumki was the face of the collaboration with Jamia. And as you can see, several IIMs, IITs, central universities, private universities, many have collaborated with us. And the good governance collaboration is a long-term one, and scaling up state capacity has been a huge challenge. The e-governance is the second big aspect of it. I've covered the administrative reforms part. How do you bring citizens and government closer to digital empowerment of citizens? Recognize meritocracy in e-governance through the national e-governance conferences. Undertake the National E-Service Delivery Assessment. I would request each one of you to go through the NASDA findings. The NASDA 2021 is an extraordinary document that provides tremendous details of how digital portals across India are functioning. An analysis of 1,440 services. How are the digital portals in terms of the state portals, service portals functioning? How many services are each state providing? And there is a NASDA Way Forward, that is a monthly publication which provides the e-services map of India. How is the e-services map of India moving? And the services are analyzed in terms of content availability. If you have a web page, the web page has to be updated on a timely basis. In terms of accessibility, universal access has to be provided. There is no point in giving several locks behind which, protective barriers behind which data is there. Then, status and request tracking, and also information and privacy. So these are areas on which the NASDA evaluates portals. We monitor e-services, and I've been witness to one of the remarkable transformations in the e-services journey that I saw with Jammu and Kashmir. J&K was providing 15 e-services in 2021, and today they're providing 1,080 e-services. The scaling up, once you start with an e-service journey, can be quite rapid. You can be an extremely well-governed state, but you can have you can feature low on the e-services rank. It's important to build strong digital portals in the 21st century governance model. So there are 56 services that have to be mandatorily provided online. And as you can see, most of the states are providing these 56 services. They've reached at least 50. And this is the shift that you can see from NASDA 2019. We brought out 3 years of publication, 2019. You will find many states are providing in the range of 20 to 40 services. By the time 2021 came, a few states had moved into the 50 stand. And by 2023, you will find 1,519 mandatory services are being provided. So the jump from 872 to 1,519 took around 2 years' time. These are the other services. In addition to the mandatory services cover 5 departments: revenue, police, PHED, PWD, and social justice. These are 5 departments where mandatory services have to be provided. These are the other areas. And even here you can see, it's a comparison between April and October. And you can see Jammu and Kashmir, 474 e-services in 2023 April. Today, there are 1,076. Madhya Pradesh, 637 to 1,010. Maharashtra, from 150 services to 553. That is the kind of transformation the e-services map of India is undergoing. And there are advanced states like Kerala which provide very strong digital portals, both the state portal as also the service portal. And there are states which are still growing up, as you can see, the northeastern states where digital connectivity has been a challenge, are scaling up. And I'm sure 6 months from now, they would be in the 200 to 250 range would be reached. That's given the pace at which they're expanding. Prashasam Gaon Ki Aur was a word that stayed with me from 1989 when I was part of the first campaign at village level campaign, and we could replicate it at national level as part of the Good Governance Week celebrations. And thousands of district collectors and participated. And when the nation's grievance redressal portals function in unison, in a week's time, 315 lakh service delivery applications could be redressed. The force of collective working together And the force of technology as a force multiplier is something that you need to recognize. If you bring every platform to work together, the kind of redressal that can be provided, qualitative satisfaction of citizens that can be given is tremendous. So this is the third vertical that I speak about, effective grievance redressal. How do you ensure citizen satisfaction? In fact, the Prime Minister calls it the most important aspect of democracies. That you look at the American democracy, you look at the Korean democracy, you find everywhere governments are trying to redress citizens' grievances on a timely basis. Every nation has a grievance redressal portal. And let me present to you the story of India's grievance redressal portal. It's the CPP&G, it's a 24/7 online grievance processing system. And it empowers the citizen's voice, and it was part of this major reform that was embarked in 2022. And one nation, one portal was something that was pursued. So every state was having a web portal of its own for grievance redressal. The national grievance redressal with the state portals was integrated through web APIs, and you could move grievances pertaining to states from the central portal and pertaining to center from the state portals. We tried to bring down the grievance redressal time and provide qualitative redressal. It necessitated putting more feet on the ground and also technology adoption. So the technology adoption meant that the grievance would not move level to level, it would move to the last level, and that was CPP&G version 7.0. So we also needed to improve categorization of grievances, also simplify citizen registration, and we needed to know who the citizen was, so he had to give his basic details and register himself on the portal. The use of artificial intelligence was something that came out from our collaboration with IIT Kanpur, and when you have how do you handle big data, 30 lakh grievances, 100,000 grievance officers, how do you find out who's working, who's not working? The AI-based big data analytics provides you with this kind of options. And 21st century governance needs a strong digital interface and big data analytics to take effective decisions. And we could bring down the grievance redressal time from 120 days to 16 days, mainly because the use of AI, mapping of officers, and adoption of technology. We also shifted and adopted Bhashini as a good software wherein which citizens can file grievances in any language. It is processed in Hindi or English, and then the reply goes back to the citizen in the same language. So, language interface is a very vital platform, particularly in a nation of our size with so many languages. And inclusiveness and outreach. How do you build the gap between the internet rich and the internet poor? And this can be done using the common service centers. The common service centers celebrate a CPP&G Day on the 21st of every month, wherein which citizens can go and avail free services. To have a data strategy unit, and the data strategy unit provides you an understanding of grievance flows, grievance officer-wise pendency, the appeal officer-wise pendency, and how many are spam, how many are repeat complaints, how many are habitual complaints. So this kind of dashboard analysis is available. Capacity building of 100,000 officers using a new scheme was necessary. The Sevottam scheme is used to ensure capacity building. Then a new mobile app is being launched in 2 weeks' time with regard to how CPP&G would work. And this is the cumulative impact. As you can see, the grievance redressal time has come down, the citizen satisfaction levels are going up, and the grievance redressal officers mapped on the portal has gone to 103,000. Indices have been developed for monitoring how grievances work, and we try to ensure that most of the columns are in green. So wherever there is red, that ministry sounded out that we need to address these particular red spots. So these are the broad thrust areas that I have covered. The rewriting of the Central Secretariat Manual of Office Procedure paved the way for Secretariat reforms and massive adoption of e-office. Benchmarking of governance I have discussed at length through the DGGI and the GGI and how governance is assessed. There is also e-services assessment I have briefed you on, the scaling up of awards and recognition of meritocracy, and effective redressal of public grievances, as also dissemination of good practices in areas that I have discussed. And let me close with a quote from the Honorable Prime Minister that as we complete 9 years of service for the nation, I am filled with humility and gratitude. Every decision made, every action taken has been guided by the desire to improve the lives of people. We keep working even harder to build a developed India. In fact, the Vision India of 2047 on governance is driven by a group of young district collectors who are all aged below 40. In fact, we wanted to have a team of below 30, below 40. We have a young team of 40 officers who work with 40 academia assistant professors, who work with 40 seed stage startups and 40 advanced startups. In all, we have 200 officials working together in 10 sectoral groups to imagine India through innovation in 2047. And based upon their recommendations, the IT Madras Research Park is their think tank. And based on several new recommendations and innovations have come from this very bright and committed group of meritocracy that has been working together. So Vision India in 2047 is a very exciting venture in which a number of new ideas are coming in, but most of them are largely driven towards an all-pervasive push for technology adoption. And the overarching theme is digital empowerment of citizens and digital transformation of institutions. So thank you very much.